Famous personality and chef Anthony Bourdain once said, you can learn a lot about someone when you share a meal together. And that's kind of what the big table is all about. With me now is Cathy Berkey, and she is the creator, the director of the Big Table, and it happens on September 15th at Iroquois Park.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, Cathy, for folks who aren't familiar, it seems like such a great concept. It's kind of basic, but it works. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's right. It does, on the surface, it's a simple potluck. You bring a dish, you sit down, and you get to know somebody new. But the real, there's a lot of depth to it too, because this is our community. This is how we all show up together. We all bring something unique, but we all belong. And we create our community as we sit down together, meet one another, and hear about each other's stories.
You know, something I'm very proud of, Cathy, and I'm sure you are as well, is the diversity, the different cultures that are right here in Louisville. But sometimes we say, wow, I like looking at them from afar, but wouldn't it be nice to get to know something about other people and their cultures and their families and just basic conversation? And that is what it's all about. It really enhances someone's life experience, correct?
Right, yeah. The idea of the Big Table came around because we saw just how polarized we were getting as a society. We could see that, we found a way to other people, those people out there. And we wanted to create an experience where the other wasn't so far away, where you could sit down and have a meal and understand, wow, we actually do have a lot in common. Or to see something that is unique about that person and then be able to value what it is that is unique to their experience too.
So for folks who are watching now, I'm trying to give them somewhat of a visual. So how does it work? The Big Table is exactly that. It is a big table. So how does it work? How do people interact, and how can someone participate?
Yeah. Yes, it's a big table. So it's at Iroquois Park, and it's on Rundell Road. So that's the road that goes behind the amphitheater and curves up toward the playground. And we line that table, that whole road with tables and chairs, about a quarter mile long, set up for 2,000 people. And you come in with your dish, and we have table hosts that are there to greet you and help you find a place to sit. And then you sit down and you get to know the people at your table of 8. So it's about sharing food with each other, but it's also about conversation. And we have these conversation cards that help us move the conversation into depth, so you really understand people.
Right. Some people are naturally gifted in conversation. You're one of those, Cathy. But some folks are like, okay, I want to know you. I don't know where to begin. So, all right, let's role play a little bit. Throw one at me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what day in your life would you relive? Describe that day.
Wow. Now that's a conversation starter there. These are also good for first dates,
Yeah. We can sell these cards at the event too.
Wow, this is all, to me, it's a fabulous concept because, as I said, I think there's so many interesting people, so many different cultures. And for me, if I could get exposed to them, not only do I gain a little bit more perspective on what our community is, but also you may make friendships. So if we break it down to the micro, wouldn't that be true? I would assume that a lot of friendships have been made at this event.
Yeah, we've heard of people that started dating because of this event.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who knows, huh? Right? You never know.
Yeah.
But the big mission though is more an understanding of people, and we talk about that a lot. And it being an election year, a lot of people about bringing us together and let's be inclusive. And this is just an example of that, right?
Right, yeah. The idea of the Big Table is to create a place where people from all over the city could come together in one place and share a meal with each other. There's so many things that isolate us, like whether it is our age, gender, religion, where our neighborhood, and just our busy lives. These are all things that keep us a little bit more isolated, and we just don't know who our neighbors are. So the Big Table is a place where you can not only, bump up with somebody that you didn't know otherwise, but sit down and have a meal with somebody that lives on the other side of the city. Or sit down and really, hear about what powerful experience changed the direction of your life. And then hear about what it's like to walk in somebody else's shoes. And it's just 2 hours. We're not asking people to be best friends at the end of it. But, 2 hours, you can really glean a lot of perspective from what your fellow Louisvillian, goes through.
Cathy, and I would imagine because of the different ethnicities and cultures, a lot of interesting dishes.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about what kind of dishes might people try. And I think that's part of the interest. I mentioned Anthony Bourdain because I think it's true to get to know a culture. It does evolve around food. When you walk in someone's house for a party, regardless of the celebration. When you walk in, everyone gravitates towards the kitchen. It's very natural. So what kind of dishes will we taste?
Yeah, it's amazing. So everyone's encouraged to bring a dish to share that represents something like, something about their family or their culture. Or it could just be a dish you really like, but it's amazing to see what people bring. Yeah, I remember a Korean family that brought this whole spread of things. I remember homemade baklava. I remember someone that made charcuterie themselves and shared it, had this whole elaborate charcuterie board out. There's always, grandma's mac and cheese. It's amazing. And then, oh gosh, last year, somebody brought a whole Ethiopian coffee roasting ceremony.
Ah,
These little cups, and it smelled amazing. And so it was just a piece of sharing your heritage and really, really connecting.
and what a way to welcome someone, by saying, I want you to have a piece of home. This is what I love. I think you'll enjoy it too. So this is, to me, the mission is very grand, but it's, as we said in the beginning, it's very simplistic in a beautiful way. So if someone wants to get involved, they're watching right now, they're watching Metro TV, and they said, I'd like to get involved with the Big Table. How do they do that, Cathy?
Yeah, they can sign up they can go to our website and sign up there. It's thebigtable.us. And there are many ways that you can get involved. So one, you can participate. You can show up, bring a dish, and bring your curiosity. You can also volunteer as a table host. So you can come and help your table go through the evening event. We need volunteers for setup. And then if you'd like to be even more of a volunteer and be a part of our planning team, you can absolutely do that too. You can help us count out the plates and the napkins and the forks for everybody ahead of time, and get everything moving together.
Is there a need for translators? I'm curious. I'm serious. I would think that would sometimes be an issue, right?
Yeah, it would be a huge help. It's always been tricky to figure out if we have, just a different language table, like a Spanish language table here or not, because we don't want to be exclusionary, but we also want people to feel welcome to come. And so we kind of handled that on a case by case basis, just, bring people even if they're not fluent, because there are enough people there that really want to try to communicate, even if it's with sign language or even if it's just, connecting over the flavor of the food. There's so much that you can do that doesn't really require language.
Cathy, I love this concept. Congratulations to you. And I love the fact that you're one of the Louisvillians who says, I want to do something about this. I love the diversity. I see it. But how do I bring folks together? And you're doing that with the Big Table. Okay, I'm curious now. So what kind of dish would you bring, Cathy? I mean, like my mom, for instance, she made a really good pecan pie. She makes a really good, and I think that speaks to the Southern in us. Yeah. Pecans being very indigenous to the South here in the United States. So that would probably be what I would bring. What do you bring?
So there are these cookies that they say saved the Berkey family.
Okay, in what way? Hold on.
Because, it's my husband's great grandfather was on his way home from the World's Fair in Chicago, and their car was hit and they were killed. And so his grandfather grew up with his aunt and uncle, and she made these cookies that then she sold from door to door to make enough money to get by. And the money from those cookies are what saved the Berkey family. And he was the last Berkey in that string of the family. So, my sons bear that name partially because of these cookies.
Wow. So a sad story, though, becomes a very positive thanks to cookies.
Right.
But then it speaks to what we've been talking about this entire conversation, how food brings people together and can do amazing things.
Yeah.
And in your family's case, yes, the legacy continues. So don't mean to be repetitive, but I have to ask you once again, because lots of folks are probably interested. They want to get involved with the Big Table. They want to either volunteer or participate. Tell them once again, if you would.
It's thebigtable.us. Right. So www.thebigtable.us.
All right, Cathy. You killed it. All right, the Big Table. Now you know the information. Celebrate Louisville's diversity, the cultures, through delicious meals and great conversation. One of the great benefits of being host of Louisville Focus is I meet very talented and interesting people, and certainly Kenneth Parker is that. He is an actor, he is a model, he has a degree in biomedical technology, And today we're going to talk fashion because he certainly knows the world of fashion. Kenneth, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you, John?
Man, you are a talented dude, man. I have interviewed you before about an acting role that you have at Locust Grove. Obviously, I've seen you in a lot of magazines here locally. You were involved in LA Fashion Week, no less. So, man, where is your focus right now? Is it fashion? Is it acting? Is it modeling? Where's your focus, Kenneth?
Well, I try to keep it a little bit of everything because I feel like modeling is acting as well. So I felt like you have to have a perfect balance of modeling, acting, the whole nine, because modeling is just more than just going out taking pictures. It's fashion, it's acting within the modeling. So it comes with multiple roles.
Yeah, I would think they're all kind of connected because through your modeling, and I mentioned LA Fashion Week because I think everyone is familiar with how big that is, and you were a model there. So you're seeing some of the most, not only some great fashion and some of the greatest designers, but cutting edge when it comes to fashion as well. How much did that kind of perk your interest? Okay, so you're a model, you're wearing all these very expensive, very highly sought after clothes. How much did that experience, or how much did that experience really, get your interest into fashion?
Well, it really opened my mind up a lot because I started seeing the different types of models, the different type of aspects it was within the modeling. So when I went out to LA, it was just phenomenal, meeting all the different models. I got to meet a couple celebrities within the fashion show. So I got to ask them a couple questions that helped make me even more better. So just having that critiqueness for somebody else that's just better than me, that really elevated my game up a lot.
So when you hang out with these fashion designers and maybe other actors and people where fashion is really essential to what they do for a living, so you be LA, New York, how does Louisville compare? I always think that I'm hoping we're fashionable, but kind of in a southern way. What would you say about Louisville fashion?
Yeah, we're more on the southern fashion. I don't think we're quite the New York or LA fashion just yet, but we're in a market that's growing right now, so we'll eventually get there. It's just going to take time because more people are into the southern fashion, the cowboy hats and the boots and just different stuff like that. That's why I got my boots on today.
I find it interesting that you said that because I was thinking the same thing. It seems that there is kind of a movement, a trend towards southern fashion. How much do you think the Kentucky Derby has influenced that? Because you can't say fashion and not say Kentucky Derby in there somewhere because it's all about the fashion, the hats, and the look.
Yeah, the derby fashion is a fashion of its own. So us being not in the New York or the LA market, it certainly has our own area so we can grow and be like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do for our fashion. The boots with the suits and the different type of derby hats, because like you said, everybody wants a hat for derby. So just having the hats and just the creativity to wear the hats with the suits and just bringing it into a whole unique ensemble is just certainly, it's Kentucky.
You know, back way long ago when I was your age, Kenneth, it was mainly the celebrities that kind of dictated fashion, what they were wearing, what was cool. Movies, like, Urban Cowboy brought the Western look back for a while. Depending on what movie was hot, it seemed that was the look. Now it seems that everyday people from any part of the country can be a big part in fashion due to social media. Talk a little bit about the influences and maybe what influences you and how you influence others when it comes to fashion.
Well, the social media influence is definitely a big presence because you can go online, Pinterest, they have different people modeling different clothes, different aspects of different types of fashion. So when it comes to me, I just find my creativity, I like 70s and 80s fashion, so I'm kind of in that time frame of I want that pop rock star look where they're not really more so like outfits, they're more so as costumes. So just being able to wear that and have that persona of, okay, well, this is who I'm going to be today. So that's more so my mindset of like my outfit of what I'm going to put on, what I'm going to wear. So,
well, I'm curious about trends. I talked about the influence of social media and, of course, movie stars and pictures. But trends, what do you see coming now? You mentioned the 70s and 80s, which, of course, I absolutely love. That was the heyday for me. But you didn't live it, but you admire the fashion. So what other trends do you see coming maybe that you like or admire?
I feel like the baggy jeans with like the bell bottoms, the real hippie, hipster look, the puffy sleeves, all that stuff's gonna come back in fashion. So it's just a big old cycle, so it really repeats itself. So I'm starting to see more and more people do the bell bottom jeans. I have like a few, so I started, because it's hard to find stuff like that if you don't know where to go find it at. So I started sewing and started making my own outfits,
Interesting.
getting more creative on that side.
That was where I was going next. So thank you for the setup there, Kenneth. I appreciate it. I wanted to know about people who maybe are they aspire to be fashion designers. Well, what are the challenges for that? Because I would think, and you can tell me, confirm this or deny it, but I would think with all of these cable shows about fashion and all these designers and people, up and coming stars in the fashion world, that it's very, very competitive out there. So tell me about some of the challenges if someone was thinking about getting into fashion.
Well, it's an extremely competitive market, so you definitely have to find your niche and what you want to create and what's going to separate yourself from all the other brands. So, like I said, my stuff is more of being creative, the hipster look. So what I'm making is like hipster shirts with like the Jimi Hendrix type puffy sleeves. So I'm like mixing different types of shirts with different type of fabrics to get the look that I want essentially for me.
Kenneth, I can't pull that off. You know, I'm too old for that. But you look great. I know what look you're aspiring for, and I think you achieve it. There's a lot to be said for being individual, isn't there? Individualistic. How can people out there who maybe aren't into fashion but say, I want my own individual style? What would you recommend them? Because you found yours. How does someone find their style?
I say it's more so finding who you are as a person to figure out your style. Because once you figure out yourself, you'll be like, okay, well, certain stuff doesn't look too good on me. I don't like wearing reds or oranges because they don't look good on my complexion or stuff like that. So just figuring out who you are as a person and just bringing yourself all in a whole so you can bring your whole aura together. That's really what creates the whole fashion look.
And to me, that's interesting because I think in this day and age and with the pressures of social media, and we hear a lot about bullying, I think it is important to own yourself and love yourself. And maybe a little bit of fashion, something that speaks to who you are, helps achieve that. Am I overreaching here, Kenneth?
Oh, no, you're definitely not, because just having that mindset to be like, okay, I'm going to be who I am and just being acceptable of who you are, because it's hard for some people to wake up every day and accept themselves. So that's a big step, just loving yourself, who you are, and just spreading the love around.
Yeah. As a male who grew up in an era where men were always, pretty conservative and you didn't want to step out of the line too much, and women owned fashion. Now it's not that way anymore. I think to me it seems to be, it's not gender specific. It's exciting on both ends of the spectrum, male or female. What do you see out there as far as women fashion? To me is fascinating, but then now for men it's much the same, right?
Yeah, it certainly repeats itself. So just having different types of models. There's older models now, so I love seeing the family models, like the Ralph Lauren type, when they bring the whole family out, the kids and the mom and dad. So just seeing that stuff like that is definitely unique in its own.
What advice would you give someone here in Louisville? Before I get to the fashion side, you've been very successful as a model, and it's opened a lot of doors for you. What advice would you give someone who says, hey, I'd like to get into the modeling world? And I think what's really unique about that is, much like fashion, the more individual you are, it seems to me that a lot of these designers gravitate to somebody who does have a different look. True?
Yeah. I feel like you just have to stay hungry and just, no matter what, just don't give up on the dream, because it's certainly hard waking up every day being like, okay, I'm going to do this and do that. So being a model has its ups and downs. So when you go through the downs, just remember what your end goal is so you can fight through to get where you want to be.
Interesting. What advice would you give folks out there who are thinking about getting into the fashion industry? Is there a group that may be here in Louisville that gathers, or where you can support each other, whether it be modeling or fashion, anything related like that? Where would you recommend they go, or who do they talk to?
There's not really too many groups. I would start with Facebook, because Facebook has the most groups out of anything. You can find like Kentucky models or photographers here in Louisville, and they have their own group within Facebook. So just going to that and just being like, hey, I'm new to the area. I want to be able to start modeling. What can I do? A whole lot of people will start recommending stuff, start sending you different information. So that's kind of how I started, really. Just searching, seeing what's all out there.
It's interesting, Kenneth, because on this show, Louisville Focus, a lot of times we talk about the pride we have in our diversity and different cultures. and different cultures do affect fashion. And I would think this melting pot that we have here in Louisville that we're so very proud of, it might be a good place. It could become somewhat of an epicenter for fashion because we have all these different influences. What are your thoughts?
We do have a whole lot of influences. We have the acting community, which is certainly growing tremendously here in Louisville. So just being able to connect with different actors and just seeing their influence on the model, because a whole lot of the actors are models as well, like I said earlier. So just being able to talk to them, connect, just seeing their style and just seeing how everybody else is unique in their own way is just certainly, it helps a whole lot because you get to be exposed to more different types of fashion, different types of looks, how to start styling your looks with different types of accessories. So stuff like that, once you come across different types of people, it certainly opens up your mind to more fashion.
Yeah. So with your look, and I love it, it does speak to you as an individual. Where do you go to shop in Louisville? Where do you find things? Do you go online, or can you actually find it here in Louisville?
Well, I mainly go to the Florida Flea a lot.
There you
They're
go.
the biggest flea vintage place that's here in Louisville, so I mainly go there. So big shout out to them.
That 70s, 80s look is available there.
Yeah, so you can find whatever you want from different types of time periods. They have furniture, like the whole nine. So I just love going in there, hanging out. I'm cool with the owners and stuff. So just being able to talk to them, they keep help influencing my looks and my styles and just continue to make me hungry to find more and more.
There we go. See, a little advice there from a nationally known model there, Kenneth Parker. So good, a little shout out there. Okay, Kenneth, we talked about, biomedical technology degree and all this, and the modeling and the acting and the fashion. So what's the end all be all for you? What do you aspire to do as you move forward?
My end all be all is just, I want to be on a billboard one day. So that's my big dream, to just see myself up on a Times Square billboard for a Ralph Lauren Polo commercial ad. Just being able to be that high level model that I'm expecting to be is certainly my end goal.
So I'm going to be in New York City, Times Square, and I'm going to look up and there's Kenneth Parker, right?
Yeah.
I love that, man. I love that. Continued success to you, my man. Really, continued success to you. Love your look. Thank you for talking fashion with us. It's been interesting.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me.
I think the best advice, the best takeaway for me, and hopefully for you as well, is hey, create your own look. What speaks to you and your individuality? Thanks to Kenneth Parker once again on Louisville Focus.